18 years old.
$1 million a month in MRR. It's just absolutely bonkers in how quickly got that product to market. It's fundamentally quite a simple product.
We're back with a very quick, digestible episode today. We're going to be going into all of the AI tools we are using for personal and professional life. And we're not going to be going massively in depth into all of these, but I think there should be some really great key little golden nuggets that you can pull from this video and ideas of how you can be using these tools to build efficiencies, improve impact of what you're doing, whether that be through marketing or even just through, personal life.
Yeah, I think I'm going to preface by saying I'm like a 4 or 5 out of 10 on AI usage right now, because a lot of my time is on calls in our business. Loukas is far more in the weeds. He's at 1 with the robot at this point.
I could be more though. Again, I wish I was more. I
think the hardest thing, and even we feel this is, and I'm sure a lot of people watching feel it, is like just keeping up with the vast amount of tools that are available on the market, tool selection, and controlling that as a cost, like being intentional with testing things, figuring out what works, and then like building a process around it.
Yeah, having a goal for like what you are trying to improve and then how you can measure that.
I think that's interesting, actually. We weren't going to talk about this, but interesting to start with that when looking at like AI as a project within a business. And I think like I've spoken to a number of people who are starting bottom up and are like, oh, where can we start using AI in process? But I really think it needs to start, and we've done this internally, is like you need to start with the P&L. You need to start top down. You need to look at like, how are we going to think about utilizing AI to improve a metric that ladders up to your business outcomes on the P&L, and then back it down to a plan. So gross margin, net margin, where does the bottleneck sit, and then how do we kind of address that? So that's obviously we're quite early in that stage. I think we're going to go through a lot of tools that we're using today, and hopefully it's valuable.
And we should be able to do like a pretty juicy part 2 of this, because we are building a lot in the background, which is obviously much more in depth in terms of like use of agents and proper IP. So we can do another session on that. This episode of DTC Diaries is brought to you by Triplewell. Triplewell is our North Star when it comes to data-driven decisions. We've been using Triplewell for probably around 4 years now, and every growth decision we make starts with Triplewell. Whether it's scaling budgets, diagnosing performance trends, or providing in-depth analysis around a new product release. And it's not just dashboards. Triplewell is an agent-powered intelligence platform powering faster, more confident decisions for over 35,000 brands like True Classic and Olipop. With the smartest AI agents in D2C, Triplewell's AI agents are a complete game changer. Instead of wasting hours pulling manual reports or guessing what's causing drop in ROAS, the platform flags what matters before it becomes a problem and starts hindering revenue. From daily digests to deep strategic insights, Triplewell doesn't just give you the numbers, it gives you the next steps. Unlocking insights humans can't find to maximize profit. Whether you're just starting out or running a 9-figure brand, this is the tool that will help you and your team see around corners and move faster. Visit triplewell.com/D2C Diaries to learn more. That's triplewhale.com/D2C Diaries, all one word, to learn more. Back to the episode. Let's jump in. I think where I would probably like to start is, let's just start at the top with ChatGPT, the obvious one, but I think there's loads of ways that I've started using ChatGPT that just shows like, you can be very creative in terms of how you use these tools once you know how you can better utilize them.
Yeah, I think it's interesting just to talk about like what makes it easier to use them. And I think it all comes down to like data and data, which is context and process. And those two things you need to like be good at organizing. I think that's a little bit of work, whether it's personal data, whether it's business data, whether it's client data, that you have to kind of sit down and just like do. So like, and that comes in, I think for an individual, you've got like written, audio, you've got different types of data that can be fed into these models that acts as that kind of training and learning mechanism. But I think it's important for people to kind of think about that quite intentionally.
100%. Yeah, I think the data piece is so important. Like if you're going into ChatGPT and just putting a prompt in and asking a question, obviously that's fine if you're using it as a search engine like Google, but if you really want to see bigger impact, you just need to give it as much data as possible so it has that context window.
Yeah. Interesting on the, are you using it on your phone a lot? Like I have it on my bottom bar and use it like Google now.
I have conversations with it all the time, just chat with it.
Yeah.
I'm just using the voice feature a lot now. I
was speaking to someone who, it was Connor Sunderland actually, another shout out if he watches, don't know if he does. He said he sort of sat down with ChatGPT and told it in vivid detail his whole life story over like a 2-hour period, like start front to back, and like gave it full context on who he was as a person, and then like has been using it for all sorts of different things, which I think is a really interesting thing to think about.
It's a great shout, and I think if you're building like your own custom GPT bot, which obviously stores all of the data and the context, which is, I'm going to go into some ways that we're doing that. You can actually, as you said, you can just talk to it and give it the context through voice rather than having to type it all in, as well as any other data points that you might want to upload. But yeah, I think just a few ways that I'm using it that some people might not have thought about yet, that a bit different from like the obvious ways. The first one is I've got a CFO bot. So I've trained a bot on how to essentially support with insights on our financial forecast, how we're pacing in terms of revenue for the month. The way that I've done that is I've created the bot, standard prompt in terms of like that context piece when you're creating it, saying you are a chief financial officer for this agency, this is what we do, et cetera, et cetera. But then I've uploaded our whole forecast for the year, and every month I upload an updated P&L for the month. And if I wanted to go in there at any point, I could literally upload a P&L halfway through the month and say, how are we tracking for gross profit, or where are we over-indexing in terms of like, expenses this month? And it will it will essentially obviously analyze it against previous month's P&L and give me all of that information and data just at the click of a button, which is massively helpful, especially when I'm giving like pacing updates on revenue and kind of those core targets.
I think that's that whole like utilizing it for your own business, like biz ops, I guess you'd call that as an area, I think is a really interesting thought exercise. Like I think looking at us as an agency, I think we're really good at documentation and tracking KPIs up and down the business, all the way down to like the lower level direct reports. And like the more of that context you can feed into those models, the broader the bot then understands the business, understands the context. I think that's another way of when we're thinking about building our own tools internally, why like say moving our creative process to our own SaaS really interests me, because it would broaden our ability to track like back-end metrics of efficiency, team output, understand bottlenecks in greater detail, and then apply AI to help us like solve those problems.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like if you've got KPIs for delivery teams, for head of department roles, again, that's something you can very much track through, giving it that context within a bot. Another one is SOPs. So as we know, standard operating procedures, very important as part of, operationalizing a business. I have started, I've just honestly probably sped up this process by about 8 hours because some like really in-depth SOPs can take a long time to build out if you want to do them properly.
Definitely. I also think the difference between a good SOP and a bad SOP is huge in terms of impact, in terms of how it's written, how much depth and detail, like how much flexibility it gives for thinking. It's got to be like a guide, but not like too complex. So I think having the perfect base and model to build off will probably help with the intention and output every time as well.
Exactly. Quality. Yeah, and the way that I've done that is taken a best-in-class SOP that we've already built. So it's got the template. I've uploaded that into the bot. Said you are an SOP builder. Use the best in class examples shared. And when I upload a transcript, use that example to build an SOP from it. So what I will do is I'll use Loom and I will record me walking through the process, being very intentional about the way that I'm talking through the process, just so it's very clear to when that's transcribed. And on Loom, there's a feature now where you can just copy and paste the whole transcript as soon as you record a Loom. And then I will put that straight into the SOP bot. I don't even need to prompt it because I've got a pre-made prompt for it, and then just put the transcript in and it will just make the whole SOP. You can also ask ChatGPT now to do it in Notion format, so you can just copy and paste it and put it straight into Notion. Okay. It's obviously you're going to have to tweak a few elements of it and add elements, and obviously if you want to add screenshots and things like that, but it does a really good job now of building SOPs and just speeds that up so much.
I would say even when you're at the start of that process of building an SOP, obviously a lot of the time we start with swim lanes and flowcharts, and Miro and Whimsical have both got pretty good AI builders. They require a bit of fine tuning. I think they're a little bit earlier in their like model where you can literally just tell it, I want to build a process for this, here's the steps, and it'll just spit out a flowchart that you can then build off.
Yeah, you can do that in ChatGPT now. Okay, it's integrated with Whimsical, so you can literally the step by step, and then it will generate the image of the swim lane, which is just mad.
But yeah, I think when you're getting that output, how are you fine tuning it? How are you making those adjustments once you've got what's the quality of output from that look like?
It's really strong. I think for because again, it's like all about how you deliver the Loom, the recording, right? Like you want to say it in the way that you want to see it on screen. So just being very intentional about the way that you say that. So I'll almost like when I'll go through a process now, I'll be very specific, almost like how we build an SOP. So I'll say who at the start of the video, I'll be like, the account manager is accountable for this and responsible for this, the creative so then it knows to build that straight in. The main things that I'm really tweaking is like any specifics to do with like additional context that I might want to add, or just screenshots of showing the process at different steps to visualize it as well.
Our special sauce. the bits that our unique mechanism, I guess, for delivery that it's not going to have the context on from a general level.
Yeah, that's it. But it does a really good job. Another one that we spoke about just before the call is like I've now started using. So obviously I use as most people do now, meeting AI note taker app called Fixer. But every single meeting I have that is like very relevant to what we're doing. So usually our C-suite calls every week, senior management calls with just Hamby team. I will take the transcript every meeting and upload it straight into the bot. So it just has so much context of what is going on within the business at that given point. But the way that I will do it is I'll have a Notion, and then I will have the week, the day, and then I'll just put the transcript in, export the PDF and replace it in the bot. So then it has it actually has the whole timeline of what's happening and when it's happening. So it's like really good at like picking out, if I'm talking to, you said this on this day at this point about this. Is that something you're still thinking about to solve this problem that you mentioned?
Yeah, I think that's super powerful. I think you'll be able to automate that, by the way.
Exactly.
I think you just need to look at how you probably N8N it all the way through.
You definitely can.
And it's just a setup. I've done the same for like personal CRM. So I've got a personal CRM on Airtable where I track all of the contacts for work, the business contacts, personal contacts, how I met them, where I met them, when I last spoke to them, and when I should next reach out to them based on multiple factors.
That's a great idea.
And every time I speak to them, it updates the context that we spoke about into the Airtable, so I can see the last conversation we had, and then updates when we should next get in touch based on either what we said or based on like a calculation formula that we use. And it's just like a really intentional way of building network, and
that's cool.
And it's worked really well so far in terms of just because a lot of that is just keeping on track of information. Like sometimes you'll forget a conversation, and but I think it makes just remembering things about people it's just more intentional, and it builds better
100%.
Relationships with them. So that's something I've been leveraging as well.
Yeah, as you said, like it's definitely something you can quite easily automate. I just haven't got around to doing that yet. But yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I think that from a personal perspective, I think, connecting Fireflies and just having that automatically feeding into ChatGPT is that whole idea of context. Like, it's just going to know and understand your business or yourself better if that feedback loop is constantly running, constantly downloading information into the bot and you can probably segment it by like department calls, and like, if you want to get a bit more niche, we could do performance here, creative here, C-level separate. But yeah, just worth building that context window out because it'll take a bit of time.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's that just initial work, but then it's just the amount of efficiency gains off the back of it are crazy. Off the back of that, just touching on Fixer AI, I use this as my AI note taker tool. But why I love it compared to others like Fathom and obviously there's loads of them. If Fireflies is another one, is because I know
you've hit me with a few AI replies with this.
Like, it embeds itself into your emails, so any email that comes through, it will put it into a specific folder, whether that's like marketing, important to reply to, clients, all of these different areas. It'll put them into folders for me and label them, and then it will have a reply drafted ready when I open the email. And I can obviously, it's not perfect every time. I'll like tweak that email slightly and give it a bit more context, and then obviously can just send it straight away.
Yeah, you sent me one that was like awesome. I was like, no, not you. That is just not you.
I did that on purpose because I just knew you would know that wasn't me.
It's like, what in the AI is this?
In my life. So yeah, that's a great tool, and it builds more context through your calls, which obviously, all the professional calls that you have, very much related to what you are usually talking about via emails as well.
Yeah.
Another one that I just love, and I think if you are new to like AI agents, it's like a great entry point, is LindyAI.
Some of the stuff they've been pushing out with I've forgotten what they called it, with where you give it a task and it spins off loads of agents to complete different parts of it.
Yeah.
Forgotten its name, but like they're a great tool for definitely for as a starting point for agents. It's where I'd recommend going.
Exactly, because it's almost just like if you're building an automation and you've got a swim lane or a flow, so it shows very visually how easy it is to just build agents that are doing different tasks.
Yeah.
So and they've also got loads of templates, so there's loads of great agent templates already in there that you can just straight away embed in and integrate with like Notion, Slack, and others. Few things I use is the chat with YouTube videos. So that's essentially just sending a YouTube link into the chat, and I can just ask it questions. Is there a point of this YouTube video that talks about this? If so, what are the key takeaways? That's one. I've also got a agent set up. So every podcast that we release, it transcribes the podcast. It pulls the 5 biggest takeaways from the episodes, turns them into Twitter posts, and then puts them into a Notion document and notifies me on Slack. So that again is a great way that you can just automate how you take content that you're producing and how you can turn that and reformat it in different ways.
Yeah, I think that's where we're using things like that pretty well in our business right now. Is like we produce a lot of content, and it's how do you make it a full flywheel of like long form video becomes short form tweets, becomes like just getting the most out of that. And AI is super powerful within that loop for just making it way more efficient than having to do it manually. Yeah, really powerful.
Yeah, 100%. Another one that I'm using on Lindy is just news. So obviously with Club Neuro, any news articles that relate to ADHD, we've got like a bi-daily update that comes through. So anything that goes into Google News, it will trigger that. It will put it into a link, put a description of what the article is about and who the journalist is, if we want to like approach them about PR. And it will just send a breakdown in a Slack channel called Industry News every other day.
I've been doing that personally as well for like things going on over in London over this period of time every week. And it's just cool. Like find just random more enjoy, and you can do it by like niche, or you can give it examples of things you like doing, and it'll just go and find things that you can do. And
that's
I think that's been really useful for just finding more varied things to do other than just going out to the pub.
Yeah, Ollie's very good at that. He'll come with some like pretty rogue suggestions of things that he's seen, and just you're just ahead of the curve with like, oh, this restaurant's launching next week, or there's this burger pop-up we need to try that's coming out.
Just makes it easier to stay ahead of what's happening, personally and professionally, I think. And even and I think the practical ways we can use that with the team is updates from like Facebook updates, distilling those down into a Slack channel, pulling like top 5 market DTC marketing campaigns of this month, info around acquisitions in the industry, like loads of ways you can automate that into Slack on a regular cadence to keep your team or yourselves updated on information without having to go and search for it.
Yeah, there's just so many use cases for that.
Similar, one of the areas of like Chat-GPT that I'm personally using the most is just deep research. Like, I think it's unbelievably powerful.
Really strong and deep research. Yeah,
like you can give it you can often give it. I'll give a practical example, which I don't mind sharing. Is like we're looking at building out like a university scheme to help us find talent for our agency as like a bit of a bottom up approach to growing the team over the next 12 months. And I sort of explained what we were trying to achieve to deep research, asked it to find me a couple of examples of other businesses doing it well, and then lay out a plan of how it would go around that with key contacts for the right place, for the right universities. And it literally spit out like a 15-page business plan around how I would do it. And I read through and it was like nothing I would change in it. Every single contact, every single like full checklist of how to go about that process. And now it's just a case of like going and executing against it.
Yeah. It's also really good for this similar thing, but like if you wanted to say create a new SaaS, it will literally give you your whole tech stack to like the AI agent tools that you will use, the automations, everything. It will give you all of that, and it can even help you with the coding.
Yeah, I think that time to ship new products is crazy. You're seeing a lot of people, what they're talking about, vibe coding is I think what they're saying on Twitter, but people releasing products like that Cal AI, which is the AI calorie tracking app.
Yeah, just you see him on My First Million. He's like 18 years old.
$1 million a month in MRR. It's just absolutely bonkers in how quickly got that product to market. It's fundamentally quite a simple product.
He said because obviously he's 18, he's still at school, and him and like 3 other friends built this. He said he's still going to university just for the social experience, which I rate, to be fair. So you're doing $1 million a month and you're like, I'm still going to go uni. But yeah, the last way that I'm using Lindy before we move on is for calendar audits, which again is such a useful task. If you're a founder and you have team members or your leadership team that are inefficient in what they're doing, or they're not delegating enough to other people, doing calendar audits is a great way to like understand how you're using your time and how you can become more efficient. And there's actually an agent within Lindy, a template for that, where it will audit your calendar. It will basically split off how you're spending your time. And then it can send you like a breakdown of that and where you're spending most time, less time, and even some suggestions of how you can adapt it.
I think that's really important if you've got people progressing into leadership positions, like their ability to understand when to delegate, when to make something a process is often comes through experience. So I think you have to be intentional with doing that. I think also doing it through like getting them to document all of the messages they're receiving in and reviewing them. I can see it being really valuable. I didn't know it could do that either. So
yeah, it's cool.
It's really cool.
Cool. Anything else on like more of a personal case before we get into some more bits around marketing specifically?
I don't think so. Like, obviously we've touched on like schedule, emails. Like I'm using it heavily. I'm just using it more and more and more. I think that's the big trend that like I feel like I'm using it more than sort of search. Obviously the big update this week was the whole Shopify code that they found in some of the, I can't remember what it's called, but like basically the Shopify checkout is going to be integrated in ChatGPT.
Wow.
So it's going to bring, that would lead you to think that you're going to be able to complete a transaction within that bot, and then like what comes after that is it's probably going to become an ad network, isn't it, really? Because it's part of the internet and everything becomes an ad network. So where does that go for like D2C brands is interesting to think about.
Yeah, that's crazy.
AI optimization, like
it's just going to print money, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just like so I think,
I mean, for them.
Yeah, it's just like that, the point of transaction coming closer and closer to the point of discovery of a product, which I think is really interesting to not clear on where that'll go, not clear on what the roadmap is there, but it's definitely going to happen. And yeah, I think that's going to be another way, like commerce is something that you can't do in AI right now. It doesn't facilitate that, but it's just broadening to cover more and more areas.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely something to keep a very close eye on. Just it's overwhelming how quickly it's all changing.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. I know we're coming to time now. Annoyingly, we've got to rush off for a meeting, but we'll quickly go through like some of the tools that we're using for as part of our like tech stack for creative strategy and paid as well. Maybe just very top line.
Yeah. Where do you want to start?
You want to quickly touch on Triple Whale agents?
Yes, I do actually. That's a great point. So yeah, Triple Whale have obviously rolled out their AI agent stack. They've been ingesting billions of data points from a huge amount of DTC revenue over the last couple of years, I think, and fine-tuning their model towards like basically allowing you to have a data warehouse that you can interface with via AI. Like obviously their platform sort of sits in the middle of your store. It connects costs, Shopify data, platform data, CRM data. So it's like that centralized data source, and they're building rapidly AI agents that can automate reporting, insights, even like you can build an AI agent that, say you log on a Monday, will give you a report for the previous week by channel, by creative, CRM. It'll suggest recommended action points from a budget perspective, from a creative perspective, all automated within Triple Whale's dashboard.
It's amazing.
And yeah, it's still in play, and it's really clear to see how fast it's advancing as well. Like a few months ago, it was quite laborious to get it to pull data in certain formats. Like you'd get it to do some regression analysis and it would just take you ages, like fine tuning. But it's now getting to the point where you can write quite a quick AI agent workflow. Sam, our COO, has written a couple, and it will just go and spit the right output out first try. We're going over to LA in May for their boardroom with their preferred partner boardroom, which I think was going to be really interesting and exciting. Hopefully I can bring some stuff back from that and share it on the podcast in terms of like where their roadmap is going. But I think it's clear that they're like a front runner in terms of investment and just, again, going back to data and context.
The amount of data they've got available to them.
Exactly. Very vertical, niche specific data. And the amount of tech investment that they're putting in is crazy. And I think we're looking at it like, how can we drive better efficiencies from a reporting perspective, from a decision making perspective, apply our unique way of delivering, our unique mechanism for delivering value for our clients, but using their AI agents to speed up that process and sort of execute some of that process for us. It's really exciting.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Even just for like giving iteration suggestions on a Monday for your team to come in and put them into tickets to execute on. I think, there's just so many use cases for it.
I think what they've got in a way that like, one of the biggest problems with, say, Motion is the lack of insight on new customer versus general CPA. And like they obviously account for that with that first party data, which I think is just huge in terms of like how their setup differs and how their context is even broader than probably most other platforms. Like it has CAC data, it has LTV data, it just has everything in terms of context that you would need in your brand once you've got it set up, and I think it's just going to be interesting to see how that develops over the next 12 months, because they're rapidly progressing the quality of the model and how quickly you can get to the output you want from like a simple prompt.
Yeah. Well, let me just quickly go through what we're using for our research and creative strategy, because we're pretty much there for time now. But so I'm going to go through this very top line. But Google AI Studios, we've spoken about this in a couple of episodes ago, and I gave prompts away for that, so we'll put that link down below so you can get the prompts for this process. But it's great for analyzing visuals and video and turning them into frameworks, or analyzing a hypothesis as to why a creative has worked. You can upload benchmarks and say this got 35% TSR, breakdown why it worked, things like that. So Google AI Studios is a great tool for that, which a lot of the other LLMs can't do yet. GigaBrain, great for social listening on Reddit. So we obviously use that deep within our audience research part of our research phase. So again, by using keywords, you can speak to the chatbot and it will pull insights directly from Reddit, quotes from top voted comments on Reddit as well. So great tool to like speed up efficiencies if you're like manually using Reddit to understand customer pain points, the language they're using, etc. Grok is also very good. We use that in a similar way for audience research, but for Twitter as a platform, and it's very current and up to date. So like it's very live in the feed as it is today, which is really great for understanding current affairs, trends, things like that. Claude is the best for script writing by far, or for prompt generation. So would definitely recommend using, that mix of Claude for script writing, Chat-GPT for ensuring you've got your kind of bots and context windows set up, and supporting at that deeper layer, as well as obviously deep research.
Yeah, I think data analysis is Chat-GPT, and then written output is Claude. I think Claude also is great at script. It's also great on like advertorials. It won't get you 100% of the way there, because I think there's an element of culture, and I don't know, it's just not quite there yet. But it can do like 80% of the legwork on an idea or a concept for an advertorial.
100%. Like, yeah, if you give it enough context, it really doesn't have to, in terms of like reprompting or having to adjust the scripts, it's getting stronger and stronger. So definitely one to play with for scripting specifically. And the only other one that I was going to mention today is Poppy AI, which is something I'm fairly new to, but it's really interesting because it almost is like a whiteboard mind map style, LLM, but you can essentially like imagine if like a whimsical or a Miro board, and you're just pulling in a YouTube video here, a TikTok creative there, a voice note that you recorded there, an article there, and then you've got your chatbot in the middle, and you just connect them in, and you can do things like summarizing all of them together, new ideas off the back of them. It can build scripts from all of the context you've given it. It can find new ideas, and it's really a great tool for script writing, and kind of brings in a lot of these tools. And I think why it's favored over others is because it's a very visual and interactive experience, unlike maybe just speaking directly to a chatbot. So for creatives, it's quite a good LLM to be playing with.
I haven't played that with that myself. It sounds interesting. I need to check it out.
Yeah, it's very cool. Cool. Well, yeah, I think we'll end it there today. Just a very quick breakdown. We'll go deeper onto some of these topics in later episodes, but
yeah, a bit whistle stop, but we can do another episode on AI in more detail.
Yeah, 100%. But hopefully there were some good takeaways there. Obviously, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel if you haven't. DTC Diaries, as well as on Spotify and Apple Music. Please give us 5-star, because we want to keep putting loads of time and effort into these episodes. And yeah, that is a little thank you to us in return. So yeah, we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.